Hey guys, this is director Janjua and welcome to Thor, aka the House of R.E.P. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. That's right, this is the third film in the sequel trilogy. JJ comes back and he tries to fix like what people would say is the damage done on The Last Jedi. So stay tuned for another awesome episode of Thor.
Hello, everyone, all you Jedi freaks out there. Welcome to the House of R.E.P.
Brilliant. So it's great to do another one with you, bro. Now let's talk about Star Wars. So Star Wars, we talked about The Last Jedi. We talked about The Force Awakens. We talked about the things that they did wrong with this franchise.
Wait. Have we got any midichlorians up in here?
No, we're midichlorian free, bro. So,
Alright, good.
going to just touching on the lore, right?
Yeah.
It was sort of like a phenomenal thing, the original ones. Like the way they've touched so many people over the years. Also, just generally from a filmmaker's point of view, these are practical films that emulate that kind of classic Errol Flynn kind of squashbuckling, Akira Kurosawa stuff. Because George Lucas borrowed heavily from those things to create his own franchise, so samurais and warriors and things like that. When they came to do the sequel trilogy and they announced JJ as the director, I was a little bit sort of like had mixed feelings about it because number one, I like JJ as a director. Don't get me wrong, he's very competent, but sometimes he does too many kind of gimmicky things like with flair and other stuff. But when he works with Dan Mindel and this kind of magic team of filmmakers, he's able to create scale that studios want, and that as a filmmaker I am able to achieve too. If I was at that level, that kind of scale, that's always what I would strive for. A very clean, very beautiful spectacle kind of look. Now he's always been a Star Wars fan more than a Star Trek fan. So after he nailed Star Trek for Paramount and he reinvigorated the franchise for them, bringing Kirk and the OG crew back to the screen, he sort of said, I'm kind of done with it, I felt that was a little bit, in my opinion, a bit kind of wrong. You get what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, here's Star Wars. I've always loved Star Wars. I never liked Star Trek. I didn't like that. How can you not love something that you directed? That just didn't make any sense. I don't know if he was misquoted or he was just desperate to try and make Disney happy or something. But that was the problem with the first, like the inkling that something wasn't right. And then when the trailer dropped of the first film, and then they obviously everything that happened, I still feel that Adam Driver was poorly miscast. He doesn't have the look, or the kind of like push to play this kind of character or Kylo Ren. There are times where he's just kind of looking and he's not actually emoting anything. So he's like a very wooden dude. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So that's a problem. I think Daisy's a much more competent actress. She's very good as Rey. I think Rey, Finn, and Poe are very interesting and good casting choices. They're new characters, so it was fresh. And I loved how the old cast were in it, but I felt that you did a huge dishonor and a disrespect to them, in my opinion. There's so many things that I could have done, and I could have converted them into kind of sage-style kind of warriors who have already been there and done that, and retired, and kind of let themselves kind of sort of be forgotten in history, as legends, but they're not active anymore. So, Leia could have established the Parliament, the Senate again. She could have become the Chancellor for a while and then retired to raise her kids. Han and her had.
Wasn't it the case originally that you had the Jurassic Park director who was going to do the film, and then I believe from the backlash that happened with The Last Jedi, he kind of bailed on it or something?
No. There's a lot of deep stuff about what happened to Colin Trevor. He got hurt a lot about this. I read a lot about this. So, okay, let's set this up for people who don't already know. And if you do know already, then you're going to want to hear this anyway, because the film was supposed to be called Duel of the Fates. Yeah, so they were gonna actually give it the name based on the original score that John Williams did for episode one.
Episode
It
one.
was supposed to be sort of like coming full circle with the trilogy. So it started at
Mm-hmm.
episode one. It was gonna end on Duel of the Fates because the Sith will finally be vanquished. Now, in those script notes, Rey has Luke's outfit, so she wears it to honor him. So that's number
Mm-hmm.
one. She took his kyber crystal and she constructed a new lightsaber, which is out of her pike, her rod kind of thing that she has, her little kind of battle staff that she's been using
Yeah.
throughout the trilogy. That became her double-edged lightsaber. So that was amazing. So number one, we'd have the first time we'd have a Jedi with a double-bladed lightsaber, on the light side. So that was number one. That would have been amazing. She does a lot of stuff in the film that's very reminiscent of Return of the Jedi, where she's kind of like more of a dark Jedi, like kind of rogue and stuff. And
Yeah.
Kylo Ren in that version was irredeemable. So he had furthered his studies into the Sith, and he had met a master who had trained Palpatine, who was still alive. He was like some slug-like character. So he was deep in the dark side of the Force, and
Oh,
Kylo
right.
Ren
Okay.
learned more stuff. And also, the Knights of Ren had more of a part to play. So the people, you would see them, and they would do more stuff, and then you would understand why he mustered them and made that team. So that's there's a lot of things in there that are better. Also, like sorry, no, Hux. Hux has a much better character arc than he has in this film.
Yeah.
So basically, instead of him just getting shot, spoiler alert, guys, if you haven't seen Rise of Skywalker, but I doubt anyone that on the Earth hasn't seen it yet. So basically, when Hux gets shot by Richard E. Grant's character, I've forgotten his name, but basically the Hux committed suicide because he failed. So he did a
Uh,
kind of Grand Admiral Thrawn kind of thing. So there was that, and everything kind of collapsed on itself because Kylo had his own interests with the Sith. He wasn't really too interested in the First Order or something like that after. So there were some bits in there that were really cool, but they're
yeah.
still floppy bits because Luke was still a ghost. Some of the elements of Luke being a ghost and can tangibly kind of like fight were kind of kept in Rise of Skywalker, where he catches his lightsaber being thrown into the fire and things like that. So there's a lot of things I have a problem with. Like, let's set up what they did and let's
Yeah.
set up what Colin would have done. So Colin would have talked about like the little kid. He would have talked about the stuff that Rian Johnson kind of set up. It wasn't going to backpedal or say anything different about that kind of stuff. That stuff was going to be canon.
Right.
So there was a lot of things like Finn, Poe, and everyone. They do different things in the new film. They have different kind of adventures and stuff, and
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of missed opportunities that I'll touch into. I'll tell people my vision of what I would have
Yeah.
done. So this is how I would have fixed their Star Wars film. But first, I'm going to talk about how Colin Trevor left. So Colin Trevor had conflict with Kathleen Kennedy, right, and the other people, Solaris Caston and people who were thing. And this wasn't a
The
sort of like,
basic bigwigs
yeah,
of
this
Star
wasn't
Wars
like a
at that
conflict
time.
where he was like, banging his head, shouting at them. They had a lot of creative conflict, and it was a similar thing that happened on Solo. And I still think that Solo would have been a much better film if the original guys had directed it. The guys who did Spider Verse.
Yeah.
They would have done. I'm not saying Ron Howard's a bad director. He's amazing. So he competently shot Solo, and Solo's an all right film, but it's all right. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's okay, and it could have been better for a Han Solo film. There could have been more swashbuckling, more smuggling, more stuff. It just felt very safe and almost felt like a series kind of a movie turned into a feature when they could have just made it into a television series for Disney Plus or something. Then they would have had
Yeah.
time to breathe. You could have. I mean, it feels like it needed another season to find out what Darth Maul was doing. What the gangs were doing. Why. How was Han doing? Members like the Black Sun could have appeared. There could have been a wicked swoopback chase. Things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
so many things that are just wasted that the
Basically, the
Mandalorian tends
stuff
to
that
do.
happened in Mando.
Yeah.
basically what they could have done.
Yeah, so Mandalorian is just a far better project because it just has time to breathe and time to do its thing. So that's what's really good about it. So Rianne's backlash on Lost of Jedi created a fear in them. The Rian Johnson stuff with Colin, he was trying to basically, like jump off of that. That's created problems for him, so he walked off of it. Then when
Yeah.
JJ came back, JJ was trying to fix what he originally wanted to do because he just wanted to keep it within himself and his team. So that was his kind of insular way of thinking because he instantly regretted it. I remember he did Force Awakens and then he was like, "No, I shouldn't have let Rianne do it. I shouldn't have said no. I should have done it." And I think that if he had done all three, then we would have had something more cohesive. But still, what they've been writing and the scripts that they've been doing are really kind of the hit and miss, with the
Yeah,
lore.
they're very hammy.
Yeah. So number one, let's talk about the story now. Bringing Palpatine back, in my opinion, kind of pisses on Vader's redemption a little.
Well, the film starts off with kind of finding that little pyramid
Yeah,
thingy, isn't
visually
it?
that bit's impressive. He's killing these Sith cultists who worship Vader, who are trying to reclaim their planet, a part of Mustafar that's inhabitable. So what they've done basically is they've come to Mustafar and they're like prospectors or kind of settlers. So the
Right.
background is that they've settled on Mustafar near Vader's castle and they're protecting it because they kind of worship Vader, and at the same time they're trying to turn it into their own thing. But then Kylo just comes and wipes them out, because they're just in his way. I don't know if it's an anger thing or maybe because they warned him not to kind of enter the atmosphere or something. So he just
Yeah.
sends a squadron with himself and just starts whooping them, and then he finds this this
The
special
Wayfinder or
holocron.
something.
Yeah, it's like a holocron. Like they call it the Wayfinder, but it looks like a Jedi holocron. And that
Right.
thing allows him to travel through a few weird kind of maelstroms and, strange wormhole kind of hyperspace stuff until he can get to this ancient Sith planet called Exegol. Now, I don't know if they've used Sith alchemy or just it's a regular degradation of the planet, but the planet is just one giant dark storm, gloomy kind of moon of a planet where there's these ancient rocks and stuff. It kind of looks like Korriban but more blue. So where Korriban has
Yeah.
that kind of Mars look, and I believe Yoda went to Korriban in the Clone Wars series when they were wrapping up the series the first time. I haven't seen the new Clone Wars revival which it completes the other, like the unrealized ideas. But when the
Mm.
show originally got canceled and they were wrapping it up, Yoda went to Korriban, and he actually met
Right.
some like Sith ghosts or something. So in this, they talk about Exegol, which we've never heard about, and this apparently is like the Sith homeworld, their base. And then Palpatine, with all those kind of weird kind of Sith priests and worshippers, has somehow brought himself back, where he's kind of created a clone body for himself, and he's able to inhabit his soul within the body, but it's degrading. So the body's
Right.
degraded. That's what they don't explain. It's like a husky kind of thing that needs a kind of life support system to run and stuff. And then the stupidest thing is when they said he created Snoke. So Snoke is basically supposed to be some kind of a puppet he created that could do stuff, but he's just some like weird malformed clone. So they're trying to say that all
Yeah.
those scars and all that kind of damage he has to his body is to do with the weird process of how he was made, and stuff. And I always
Yeah.
thought that Luke
There's a
got
funny
him.
there's a funny sequence where he's like walking through, what looks like the collector's little keep room that where
Yeah,
there's
it
got those
reminded
little
me that.
cubicles with Snoke
Yeah, it reminded me
clone
of that a
with
lot,
Snoke
bro.
clone.
Yeah, it reminded me of that a lot. And what I don't like is that these back to tanks and these kind of clone tubes, they weren't fully realized. I mean, I had some amazing ideas where like Palpatine brought himself back, but then he brought like what is like husks of like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, but they're evil. So they're not
Yeah.
really Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and that would have been wicked. So they're like beating up Luke, And then there's a clone of, because he wants to make his own kind of Sith army of like the best people. So basically, he's been studying and taking people's DNA, and he wants to build this new Jedi, like not Jedi army, the Sith army with the best people that he thought were challenges to him as their slaves. So you've got Anakin there, and then Anakin's body is empty, but Anakin, through the Force, wills himself back into the body. You know, so then there would have been this amazing scene where there was this bearded Anakin, like who's the clone, with Hayden Christensen returning, and then him back to back with his dad. And that would have been like one of the most amazing moments on film. And this is like one of the short kind of ideas I had. Like I had Palpatine young, so what we did is we got Ian McDiarmid back, but we had a body double play him, and then what we did is we de-aged him. So it was Ian's performance, and with all that kind of like snarling and his wicked kind of like stuff that when he was young Shiv Palpatine, so all of that, but basically he can fight, so the guy can fight, and he's like taking Luke on, and Luke and Rey are trying to take him on together, but then everyone comes to help him. So he takes out that evil Qui-Gon, he takes out that evil Obi-Wan, but with the ghost of Obi-Wan helping him.
As well, like,
yeah, exactly. Those those classic kind of Sith pokes, I call them. He does all these kind of Sith pokes where he kind of tries to poke you.
I mean, it's just so reminiscent when you see him. When I reminisce when I first saw like episode 3, and that was the first time we got a chance to see Palpatine actually fight with a lightsaber.
Yeah, that was cool.
I was like, this is badass, and then the whole sequence is kind of like meh, because he just takes out.
I really hated that. Like Kit gets killed. Kit Fisto is like so good, and then Eth Koth, the other dude, or I don't know if it's Eth Koth anymore. I think Eth Koth died, but this guy's a different dude. But they just they die in such quick ways, and they're Jedi Masters, so that's stupid.
Well, I mean, they did the same thing where, like you're saying, they had like a really talented stuntman do the maneuvers with Sam Jackson and the lightsaber choreography, and they did that. They did that kind of early version of like deep faking, where they kind of CGI'd his face on top.
Yeah. That was one of the that's one the one great thing about episode 3 is that it started that, and then we'll be doing separate House of Reps about the prequel trilogy and going into them in detail. And same thing we'll do with the other films I was mentioning before. And even Mandalorian and the other things like Solo and stuff. We'll be doing separate House of Reps on those. But they missed a big opportunity with Star Wars to have the original guys go, oh shit, stuff's stirring up again, but we're kind of old now. We can't really do much, right? The mind is willing, but the body can't do it no more. So Rey and stuff, like, Rey should have already been some kind of failing graduate or prospect who reminded Luke of what he used to be. And then he helps her become one of the greatest Jedis of the new generation. So the new order is then in the future led by her, and then you could have done that Finn stuff, but I feel that Finn and her should have ended up together, because I could tell that he was feeling her. So they should have ended up together and had new Force children. Then they built a new temple, and then he should have been Force sensitive, because he fought at the start. And that arc was never fully realized. Instead, he's doing a space horse battle where he's riding on Star Destroyers with horses, and then he's just kind of being a kind of militia general. Like, he's having that Return of the Jedi kind of moment that Han had. Do you get what I mean? Where they have to take something out. So that's a trope. That's a throwback to Return of the Jedi. And then Lando being back as well. Now, let's just focus on Lando for a second. You wasted Billy D. Williams. You had him come back in a kind of spy way, so he looked like he was in Return of the Jedi. He was playing like some kind of a.
I thought that was a bad introduction for Lando. Okay, I get the idea that Lando is a great chameleon within the underworld of the universe of Star Wars, but I don't see the need to rehash that idea from Return of the Jedi.
That's a big mistake. That's a big mistake. He should have gone back to doing what he did best, and that's being some kind of a guy who, like, he reclaimed Cloud City or something. you know. And then
Yeah,
when they
but
needed
isn't
help, he
there a
came with a
sequence
fleet or
before that
something.
bit, before we see Lando, where she's like training with the lightsaber?
Yeah, and that looks like that looked kind of like it was on Yavin, you know. But that was cool.
Yeah,
So I thought she
that
was
was
back
kind
on
of cool.
Yavin and she was going to train with Leia in the Massa's temple. What they've tried to do, right, is because of Carrie Fisher's sad passing, and she was a phenomenal actress. May she rest in peace. The they tried to use body doubles and other things to kind of fill
Yeah,
the void and unused scenes with Carrie, like unused reactions and stuff. So that's tying his hands creatively, number one,
mm,
because he's
yeah.
limited by what footage he can do and how much he can do that uncanny valley stuff without dishonoring her memory. Then you
Yeah,
got
I mean, we'll get onto that bit later on in the film where obviously there's that part, but yeah, carry on.
yeah. No, anyway, yeah, so like we were saying, there's a lot of things that they've done wrong. Like they've grounded Poe. He doesn't really do any Starfire stuff much until the end. You get what I mean? So they've tried to give him
Mm,
this stupid backstory that he used to run spies. They've basically tried to convert his character into Han. You know,
yeah,
when he wasn't Han, he was like the Wedge Luke. You kind of get what I mean?
yeah,
So that's stupid.
yeah.
There's a
I
lot
mean,
of things.
let's go on to the bit just after they meet Lando and they're going back, because that is a very stupid sequence. That whole bit.
Some of those bits are really nice, like the culture. That place kind of looked like some nice festival was going on. I love it when they show that kind of stuff, like the culture of Star Wars, and they do all that wicked prop design, and the kids were laughing and stuff, and they, it looked happy, and that's what Jedi
It did,
wants to
yeah. It was
happen.
a bit like that sequence in Thor Ragnarok where they're worshipping the Hulk.
Yeah, so that was all fun, and then after that, they are trying to find this guy who was a Jedi killer. What was he? He was called the Jedi killer, right? Jedi
He's called
hunter.
something like that. There's that bit basically where she's on that other desert planet where they're meeting. She has to go face to face with Kylo and his infiltrator. Is that the right bit? I think. And then after that is the bit with the kidnapping.
There's a bit basically when they realize that Palpatine has returned because Palpatine sent a broadcast to everyone. So he has this new fleet called the Sith fleet. So what he's been
Yeah, that's
doing is
strange.
he's been
That
building.
bit is very strange. Like how he managed to amass so many bloody goofy ships. It looks like a freaking. He looks like a cartoon megalomaniac. It's very strange in this film.
That bit looks really stupid and over the top as well, but they've used infinity repeating with the CGI to make multiple I think what they interceptor classes or whatever they are, but
Yeah,
they're the traditional Star Destroyer, the classic Star Destroyer. And I'm like, why are you making the classic Star Destroyer when the Kylo Ren Star Destroyer and the other Super Dreadnought were amazing? Why doesn't he have like
yeah.
some kind of thing called the Emperor's Fist or something? And
I mean,
some
this is the thing that Disney have a problem with. They had that similar problem, although it wasn't overly done when they did it in Winter Soldier, where they had the three mega, what are they called?
helicarriers. But that
Helicarriers.
was cool
You
because
know,
they were
that's cool
basically
because there's only three.
yeah.
You know, not like 20,000 up in the sky and taking up all of the
What
space.
I
Like,
wanted him to do is he should have had a Star Destroyer. He should have had Star Destroyer lasers built in. I mean, like first of all, you had Starkiller Base, which was like this, giant planet that they had hollowed out. So where did they get the resources for that? Then they
yeah, I
destroy.
really don't like the Star Wars creativity when they're just measuring sizes of their, should I say, their power,
Mm.
and where they kind of exaggerate it too far into the kind of realm of unrealism. Like
All
it's
of them just
totally
repeat.
unrealistic.
They all
Like
repeat the old
the
stuff
sense of
though.
time, it wouldn't make any sense in that span of time, like whether it be 30 years or 20 years, why somebody would take on imagine the dude who's like
The
taking on that
architects.
project for Palpatine
You need to.
and is being forced
I feel like making a
to
short about
make
that.
these bloody ships for
These
him.
dudes, who are the dudes who actually build this shit, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've got those dudes chanting over there
Yeah,
in the corner doing their fucking choir
the
practice,
Sith
and
guys. Yeah.
They're not materializing those ships. Somebody's actually physically building these for sure.
What
Come
they were
on.
saying is that they use slave labor in a generational kind of thing. So what they had is they have people who worship Palpatine, and
Yeah.
they're under his kind of like grip of the dark side. Once they're
Mm,
under his shadow and they've kind of given in to him, it's their children's children who are building this thing over the last
right.
decade or so. So they've been building Starship, and that's why they're all the same traditional Star Destroyer.
But then,
But
I mean,
it's just
going back
strange.
to what you just said, it's a good point because you're saying that it's generational, but there is
Mm.
no evidence of that generational feeling in this film, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It feels very detached from the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy,
Mm.
and that is the main problem with the film. It
There
feels
are
way too
a lot of
detached.
problems where what I hated the most is that when Ray could have channeled and Ben could have channeled something, they should have channeled everyone who had ever been screwed over by Palpatine. Someone did an amazing fan edit where they thought of my idea. I thought of the same thing as them, where all the ghosts of everyone would come. So there was
Yeah, yeah,
Ashoka,
yeah, yeah.
there was Anakin, and they were all in their prime, and they all channeled their Force energy through Ray. So they all could have just raised their hands and some light could have come. You could have just had day play contracts with Hayden and everyone. But Hayden could have said something wicked to Palpatine, where Palpatine looks at him with this fear in his eyes, and he goes, you really think that I would let you get away with this, or something? It would have been
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
wicked.
yeah.
Because after everything that Hayden done, he was one of the most powerful people. Like somebody was saying that originally, yeah, like a lot of rumors were going around that Rey was supposed to be a reincarnation of Hayden, like another
Okay.
chosen one. They were going to kind of go down that Matrix route, but there's been lots of different ones. So she would have been a new generation, and like she's force sensitive. They did this silly thing like about how both of them are a dyad in the Force, and Palpatine is always known that the Skywalker and Palpatine families have always been very strong in the Force, and they're connected in some way generationally. Now they've opened up
Right.
this thing where I could do something in the High Republic era, where Palpatine's ancestor and another Skywalker were buddies. Do you know? You get what I
Yeah,
mean? And they were both Jedi's, maybe. And then when Shiv was
yeah.
born, he became corrupt because of something maybe his grandfather did, a mistake he made or something. So there's something that you could do there. There's a lot of fertile territory there. Where I mean, one time I planned with you guys, like if I ever did a Star Wars series, I would have one in the High Republic, which I call the Old Republic era. So I would have an Old Republic era where Exar Kun, all those people would be fully realized on film, and you'd have all these kind of corrupted Jedi and these like ancient Sith and stuff fighting, and the Mandalorian War would happen, and then you would have New Republic stuff, so Luke's time, where you're fighting Remnant Empire stuff, and they were back to back those shows,
Yeah, yeah,
and so
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
so that would have
I
been
mean,
really wicked.
yeah, I mean, that would be really cool. I mean, let's go back to the sequence on the desert planet. I think it's called Pasana or Pasina or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that sequence has some good bits in it. I like the CGI in the chase, the
Mm,
kind of like speeder chase that they
mm.
have.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
cool. I mean, the other bit that I liked as well was when at the start
yeah,
um they go on that ship, remember? Like, and they're in the sorry, not in the ship. They go on the Falcon, and they have the ice
yeah,
bit
they're in the
where they
Falcon.
meet that really cool guy, and the guy's giving them info, and he's like, "Give this to Leia," and he's like, "How can we help you?" And he goes, "Win the war." And I like that guy. He just sounded really cool, and then they cut his head off. They killed him.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's how he finds out where they were going, isn't it?
Well, yeah, he does like Kylo does some sort of that force thingy majiggy,
That kind of force bond
a
thing, isn't it?
force
Yeah.
meld or something
That's why he
to find
finds
out where
out.
she is.
Yeah. Then he sends a Knights of Ren to that place, Pasana, isn't it?
Katana, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then obviously that sequence happens where she kind of confronts him, and then she's running like a crazy
Yeah.
biathlete running down the desert. I
Yeah.
don't know how she's getting speed in the desert because you can't really run that fast in the desert
I thought that
anyway.
that bit visually is really nice though, but I think it's a
It
bit
is.
silly
I
that
mean, the
he's trying to
CGI
run her
for his
down with.
infiltrator is amazing looking. Like,
Why is he trying to run her down with a Tie Fighter? I think that's really stupid.
I don't know. It's a very odd technique of
Also,
his.
why is he trying to run her down? Why doesn't he just blast her? I mean, can she deflect a starship, blast? That would have made her go flying.
I know. Yeah,
So it's
it's
just
odd
really there
that.
for show, not really there for go. Kind of like, there's
Well,
no kind
to
of
be honest,
understand.
if she was a smart enough Jedi, she could have done that bounce back trick he does in The Force Awakens, where he stops that blast at the start of Force Awakens.
Yeah, so that's interesting. He has the ability to hold blaster bolts, but
Hold, like, energy, yeah.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
a lot of weird things in there. Also, the controls of his starship are weird. What do you do exactly with those two things that you push forward? Like, how do you go back and how do you
twist them
turn?
or something.
Yeah, but how do you turn that thing?
I don't know. Maybe it works backwards.
So you pull back to go up, you pull forward to go down, and then I guess you go left and right to kind of, barrel roll the ship? Maybe,
yeah, something like that.
So it's like free flowing.
She does some weird string assisted backflip.
That looks terrible. That's the worst bit of it.
Really odd.
Why didn't she do a proper Sonic like flip so the lightsaber spinning? Yeah. That would have looked wicked. She spins really fast. I mean, what about if she did a wicked Psycho Crusher? It would have been so cool if she jumped and then she force pushed and you saw her pushing off of something.
The problem with that shot is that she's moving way too slow.
Yeah.
And the shot's been ramped and slowed down for greater effect.
Yeah.
In the film to show that she can jump over a physical object, even though the physical object is coming at her at speed.
But she's able to slow time down.
You can see the kind of technique that JJ and the editors tried to do, but it just doesn't look quite well choreographed. It's that kind of technique that sometimes Western cinema doesn't quite get, and it's kind of come from like stuff like Hong Kong cinema and stuff, with House of Flying Dragons and that kind of Chinese techniques of like string assisted action and stunts.
House of Flying Daggers. Now that's a movie you just triggered my memory of. That visually, Zhang Yimou, that film. He's an amazing director. That guy.
Yeah, but I mean, for instance, in that film, it serves a purpose because it's more fantastical.
Yeah.
And more
fantasy, innit? Like.
Magical. And
but that's what they say this is, though. Star Wars is fantasy, so it's humans who can do extra stuff, right?
But compared to like what you've seen before, like backflips and flips and stuff that Ray Park does in the prequel trilogy when he's Darth Maul, it's still believable. You can still see him do a physical flip, and it's achievable. It's not like woo, kind of like puller.
Yeah. It felt winched. I know what you mean. There's the weight to her. It doesn't look right, like the weight and the way she's being winched and stuff.
Yeah. So then the funniest bit happens afterwards. So obviously he crashes his ship.
Yeah. But the first thing was with the snake, innit? That weird snake that they found underground, right?
Kind of rolls across the desert.
Yeah.
And then somehow, in a stupid plot point, the Knights of Ren get the doozy on the crew.
Yeah.
And then they arrest them all with the troopers, like the clone troopers.
How did they get the jump on Chewie, man? Like Chewie's so strong. Well, they should have had a scene, where Chewie just was whipping them. Like, why did they always weaken Chewie?
Yeah, they seem to nerf.
Why do they nerf Chewie when he can rip people's arms off?
So stormtroopers can't shoot for shit.
Yeah.
But they can sneak up on you really well and arrest you.
I don't understand that. That was really stupid. And the Knights of Ren power levels are weird. They're supposed to be these badasses with all these weapons and stuff. Like, this is the problem that I have with JJ's stuff. He creates really visually impressive things, and he creates threads with characters like Knights of Ren, this and that.
Yeah.
But they never fully realize they're like MacGuffins, or something.
Oh, don't tell me. Wait. We're gonna go into the biggest fucking MacGuffin in a minute. Don't worry.
Yeah, let's talk about this dagger as well. So this dagger apparently...
No, I want to talk about that sequence. I especially want to talk about the stupidest sequence in this entire film.
What, the bit where they're doing the tug-of-war on the ship?
Yes, the tug-of-war on the ship.
Okay. So, like, Rey basically tries to pull the ship.
Obviously the lightning bolt bit as well.
Where she conjures force lightning because she can't control herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a bit stupid, isn't it? And she thinks she kills Chewie. I thought that was silly.
I was like, this sequence is so stupid. It makes no bloody sense.
Yeah.
Like, at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like, first of all, we get the MacGuffin that, okay, they're having this tug-of-war against are they having a tug-of-war against the ship, or are they having a tug-of-war against the lightsaber?
No, that happened in Last Jedi. So in this one, they're
Oh,
doing it
right, okay.
against the
So
ship.
they did the lightsaber tug of war,
Yeah,
power struggle, let's call it,
yeah.
in Last Jedi, and then they repeat that bullshit
Mm,
in this film again. Like, why are you repeating that again? We already
mm,
seen that
mm.
before.
For them, it's
We
supposed to
knew.
be like their anger and their connection,
I
brings
know, but
out the
it's a bit
darkness in
childish.
her.
It's not like they're fucking 5-year-olds, are
Yeah,
they?
they're like fighting over toys or something, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So they kind of like try and battle over this. Is it the ship, the kind of T-16 kind of hopper ship that's trying to take off
It's
with
some
them
kind
in
of
it?
troop. It's a troop transport style dropship that was in Force Awakens. You know the one that Finn was in at the start, the
Yeah,
one
yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah.
drops people. It's like one of those. It's like a troop transport.
Like a prisoner ship,
Yeah, I
like a
think it kind
prisoner
of
carrier.
replaces the Lambda shuttle. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
split the design of the Lambda shuttle into two designs. So like Kylo's got his own shuttle, and then they've got that one, the troop transport one. But they look like they're all based on that design. So they're like newer versions of those ships.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
So they're doing this back and forth, and then does she conjure the thing? Do you remember the sequence?
She grabs it, and they're doing a tug of war, and then she channels some of her dark energy, and then the lightning takes out the ship, which is very
Uh,
interesting that Force lightning can do that, because that's a new thing that we've never seen Force lightning do. We didn't know Force lightning could take out ships.
yeah. See, so that's what I find weird. Like, I thought that Force lightning was very much like energy based from all the stuff we had seen in Episode 3.
Yeah, I thought it just affects humans. You could use it to
Yeah,
hurt
I didn't really think it would
individuals.
affect. Obviously, it's lightning.
Yeah,
So what they're trying to say is that it has some properties in terms of, heat and
and it did something to the ship to set something off, like
intensity
hit the
and shit
fuel
like
or
that
something.
and power,
Mm,
so that it could affect something metallic. Obviously,
mm,
that's a metal object flying up into the sky,
mm.
and anything that's conductive is going to react to that anyway.
Yeah. Let's talk also about this guy called Ochi. So Ochi was
Yeah,
a
Oki
Jedi
was good,
hunter.
but also I find it really annoying that one more thing I wanted to add to that sequence was how annoying John
Mm.
Boyega gets.
Yeah.
Just shouting Ray's name every single time, like,
Ray,
"Hi,
Ray, Ray,
Ray, where you
Ray.
going, Ray? Come back, Ray!"
It's funny, isn't it? It's like,
It's like really strange
why did they
because
make
it's
him
like,
like this
what the fuck
whining
are
dude?
you? Are you
And
a
what was that
nanny or
thing he was
something?
gonna? What was that thing he was gonna say to her? Was he gonna tell her he loves her or something?
He was gonna say something before they fell into that giant snake pit, and that's
Yeah.
another weird
Do
sequence.
you think that force healing bit is cool? Because that's the first time we see force healing on screen.
Yeah, who did they do the force healing on?
She heals the snake by transferring a bit of her life force to the snake, which then sets up that thing later where Kylo gives Rey his life force, and then that bit makes me
Right.
laugh.
We're
We'll
gonna
come
get
to
to
that
that
in a
bit in a
minute.
minute for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, that bit's stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
she kind of like overacts in that sequence when
yeah,
Chewie dies. I think it's a bit silly.
mm,
Oh, the imposed
yeah,
uh, MacGuffin bullshit writing of JJ where he
mm.
like kills a character but he's not really fucking dead. I
Again, the
mean,
MacGuffin in
he did
it,
the
like you
same
said.
bullshit in Mission Impossible 3 and that was hilarious.
Yeah. What did he do in Mission Impossible 3? Oh, when he looked like
where
he killed
where
Michelle
at the
Monaghan's
start of the
character.
film it starts off with
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
sequence where he thinks that
Yeah.
his wife is dead, Julie is
MI
dead,
MI3,
and
yeah,
then
people really
it gets
like, but to
revealed
me,
afterwards near the like the
yeah,
last
Julia's not
quarter of
dead,
the
isn't
film.
it? It was Baha Somnique. She got killed.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
exactly.
played that guy Owen Davian's aide, attaché or
Yeah.
something.
So that's what his filmmaking creates a problem. It's one dimensional right now.
Yeah, so he's kind of like, he falls back on classic tropes that he feels safe with. Number
Yeah.
one, that he's already set up, and he thinks are gonna switch up the franchise. So he made this mistake with like Into Darkness too. Like Into Darkness's setup and plot is wicked about how they aggressively expanded space after the attack by the Romulans, the Federation, and they became more militarized as a result. But two, they
Mm.
found Khan's ship instead of Kirk finding it. And then so what they did is they recruited Khan, but then they changed his identity. What they never made clear though is that they changed him from an Indian dude to a white dude. And I thought that was
Yeah.
stupid. Like Benedict, don't get me wrong, he's an amazing actor, but there were Indian actors out there who could have really been Khan. Hell, I could have fucking done it. Well, do you get what I mean? But like you could have at least hired some kind of a dude, like to play him.
Yeah. This is D.
Yeah. So I thought that was a mistake.
Yeah. So, let's go on to the what's his name? Oji.
Yeah, Ochi. This guy Ochi is supposed to be a Jedi hunter, and this is who
Right.
Luke and Lando were trying to find on this place before. And then he ended up falling down and dying. Maybe got eaten by the snake. I don't know. But he killed Rey's parents, so she never gets revenge for their death, which I thought was stupid.
Yeah, because there's a sequence where you kind of see like a weird flashback of them getting killed or something.
Yeah, because basically they dropped her off at Thingy to be with that guy, and they escaped, but
Yeah,
he chased them.
what was the planet she was on?
Jakku.
Jakku. Yeah, Jakku.
Yeah, Jakku. Yeah,
Jakku.
yeah. So basically, they dropped her off because apparently he's the son, or was it the son of Palpatine had a kid? And I'm like,
Yeah,
who did
something like
Palpatine
that. It didn't make any bloody
who
sense.
did Palpatine hook up with?
Yeah, I don't know. This is the weird thing that is the biggest flaw with Rise of the Skywalker, this Episode 9 film. Is the relation that they're saying of her character and totally throwing her character under the bus.
Yeah.
Like, she started off so well with that mystery and that ambiguity.
I really wanted her to be Luke's abandoned
Luke
door.
had.
I wanted her to be Luke's abandoned door that he didn't know about. He had some kind of a relationship with someone, like another Jedi lady. She left the Order because she just needed to do something, and then she ended up giving birth to Rey, but then she got killed by Palpatine or something, or Snoke. And then when Luke found out, Luke almost succumbed to the dark side, and he freaking lightsaber or axed him right in the head. Do you get what I mean? But he survived. And that's what that massive kind of like screwed up face is about. That's why he's got turnip head. that's why Snoke's got that giant turnip head. It's like got some weird looking potato head. He just looks like a potato dude, like all messed up. Like I don't know what's happened to him.
I mean, the sequence of that is quite good. The one thing that I did like about Rise of Skywalker is that you gave C-3PO, who can be quite an annoying character, a decent little arc.
That was cool. Yeah, I like that. He had like that hidden Sith language, but then that also creates continuity errors with Anakin creating him. Why would he have locks in place? Anakin wouldn't have put those locks in, would he? He wouldn't have known unless he's.
Well, it would have probably come to a point where he got some software update.
Yeah.
From the Republic that told him,
Bail did it, innit? When Bail upgraded him. Yeah, but then again, you could actually justify that by saying that Anakin actually cobbled him together from different protocol droids that were broken. So C-3PO is a product of like a few other pieces to make who 3PO is, and then when Amidala got him, she upgraded him. And then when Bail took ownership of him. It was just
the fact that C-3PO had a B-Lord or some shit, and they had to reconstitute his fucking software.
I don't know, man. Maybe, you never know. Yeah. So then they find out that they've got to find this other.
Oh yeah, C-3PO had a blue screen of death, and then he kind of like. Needed a reboot.
He got double red rings. He got Xbox style double red rings in his eyes when he did. And they formatted him. When that little guy, I like that guy Bubba.
That little character is great.
He's nice. That guy. Yeah, I also like
Babu something.
Yeah, Babu Frick or something. His name was right. Yeah, something like that. But the other lady, I forgot her name. But Kerry, I forgot her name. That actress from Honey I Shrunk the Kid, Kerry Russell. Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. Remember when we were kids, we saw her. She played that kid's girlfriend. But she was in some other show called Felicity with JJ. But she was in MI3 where she died. Remember, as that chick, like his protege Lindsay. So she comes back in this as some kind of like bounty hunter kind of warrior that used to be Thingy's girlfriend or something. Pose.
Yeah, I don't really like that bit.
Yeah.
I think that sequence is a bit. Well, it's okay.
Well,
I mean,
Kijimi
obviously,
looks wicked, doesn't it?
they're on a
Yeah.
planet overrun by the Empire, so there's the same old Star Wars trope about
Yeah.
oppression and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But her character, I mean, why are we not seeing her face? I mean, we need to.
You see her eyes a bit, innit? But it's a bit silly,
You
innit?
don't really see her face because it's stuck behind a kind of like gold tinted chrome dome of a helmet.
Yeah, she kind of reminds me of that. I hate the shit, but they use the decoy, Zam Wezel, innit, kind of thing. Like some mercenary chick surviving in the wilds, you know?
Yeah, and like you said before, they kind of like twist post character arc into this weird smuggler when we haven't even seen him smuggle anything in the entire trilogy, and in this trilogy.
Strange. Very strange.
The highlight of the sequence is obviously when they go to the droid smith and they gotta extract the text from C-3PO's memory. Yeah.
Yeah.
But obviously that bit is quite good. The bit where he actually turns kind of like Sith-like and red-eyed is quite nice because he's like speaking some freaky sounding language.
Yeah, he sounds like he's got that old automated computer voice, the kind of base computer voice that all protocol droids have, probably based on that original software. You know, the bit where Kylo kind of informs her that she's Palpatine's daughter is a bit weird as well. You know, and then
I don't get like why he's the one who to have to tell her that.
Yeah, and then you know when Finn and Poe get saved by General Hux, I'm the spy, and they're like, I knew it, and they're like trying to force all this comedy into it. It was just like so stupid, and he's like, shoot me in the leg.
Yeah, but it's really stupid because you've left out the biggest plot point, which is like they've left lots of stupid bits out from the previous film, which is The Last Jedi, like the Benicio del Toro's character is like totally written off his arc about the revenge.
Finn should have got revenge on him.
Revenge on that guy.
Yeah, straight up.
At the same time.
Yeah, at the start of the film, he should have been hiding somewhere on some island, and then he gets bombed by Finn or something.
Exactly.
Finn literally drops a proton bomb on him while he's drinking iced tea, like that Saddam Hussein spoof in Hot Shots where he's drinking in the chair, and the bomb falls on him.
Where he clutches the giant bomb.
That's so funny, that bit where Charlie Sheen does that in Hot Shots Part 1. That film is hilarious, man. That film is so funny. That is just such a send up, man. It just takes the piss out of everything. Top Gun. I can't remember what else it takes the piss out, but that film. There's Hot Shots 1, Hot Shots Part 2 are just classics. I like the second one the most. The second one's the best because it just makes fun of Rambo and stuff and all these other films. We'll do House of R.E.P. on that. That one's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's one really nice sequence. I'm not sure where it happens in the film because I've kind of can't quite remember the exact point where it happens, but where they have that flashback about Luke and Leia, I thought that was
cool. That de-aging kind of fight. She talks about it, right, with him.
That was awesome. Sequence. I thought that was really nicely done.
Yeah, that they were training on. It looked like on Endor or something, innit? Or maybe on Yavin.
Endor. Yeah, it looked a bit like Endor.
Yeah. So that was cool. I think Carrie Fisher's daughter, Billy, doubled for her for that scene.
Okay.
You know, and then they mapped her face on it, so she did all that stuff with some other guy playing Luke. Yeah, you know that other bit when she goes on by sea to the other Death Star to find the Wayfinder? That's really interesting too, that the Wayfinder crashed on that planet.
Yeah, but again, that sequence suffers from like goofy bits. Like again, Finn shouting like a crazy maniac again.
On the other side.
She force pushes him away. He's like, ugh.
Yeah, and that bit where she's like dying, she calls out to Kylo through the Force, distracting him.
That's right, yeah.
You know, Leia, and then she dies, and then basically he gets stabbed, but he's thinking about his mom's death. I mean, he tried to do patricide before, though, when he tried to blow her out of into space. So now suddenly he's like concerned about his mom. I mean, obviously he would have a deeper connection to his mother because she gave birth to him, but you know, that bit's a bit weird. And then she kind of leaves him there in the water. They have a crap lightsaber fight, by the way.
There's two instances. Yeah. Obviously, there's the Han Solo bit as well.
Yeah, but the Han, you know, the lightsaber fights in this film are crap. You know, they're like proper budget.
Even the bit with the shelter
Yeah.
is supposed to look like grandiose and stuff.
Yeah, when he walks through it.
It looks really messy at the same
It
time.
would have been
because of
wicked
the
if he
weird
ran through it,
choreography.
right? It would have been wicked if he ran through it with this rage, and then he force pushes the water into her like a thunderous kind of blast, and then she gets kind of thrown back, and then she backflips to avoid his blade. She gets clipped a little on the shoulder. You know, like they should have had a little bit more of a kind
It's
of.
not like that sequence. A better fight example with War is the scene in Aquaman near the end.
Yeah, I mean Aquaman does that final fight so brilliantly, and visually it looks so impressive. Like very good. I mean, the cinematography. Don't get me wrong. The cinematography, the look of the film is amazing. Disney always have great cinematography in their movies. You know, they have the budget to make everything look clean. But then the other bit is really weird when he has his where he has a conversation with his dad. So it's kind of like not really a Force ghost to Han, which is a bit weird. But it's also kind of like a memory, and then he redeems himself. So that's a bit weird, isn't it?
That's odd. Yeah.
So they've never really fully kind of made sense about who Kylo is. He's not really a Sith, and he's not really a Jedi, so he's more like a Dark Jedi, I guess. They never really made that clear. He wasn't a Sith Lord, you know, because he was against Palpatine. You know, he was trying to do because he didn't want to be like Palpatine's right hand kind of cahoot. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, also like when we start getting into the like kind of final battle at Exegol, it's like really slow. The whole build up, like okay, Rey is exiling herself. She has that conversation, like you said, with Luke's Force Ghost, and he does his hoo-ha with the tangibility of his powers and stuff like that. And then the film kind of slows down in a weird sense. I don't know if it's because of the death of Carrie Fisher, but it takes a long time to kind of get back up to speed. And I don't understand why all these people will start to come and help the Resistance when they didn't bother to do it in the previous film.
Yeah, it was really strange because, like, number one, she goes back to Octo, right? Which is that really weird planet where Luke's just been kind of like was living like a bum. Then she meets Luke's Force Spirit, and then he tells her to go and fight Palpatine. Then he's like good again. He's the Luke that we know, not the bum Luke in the Depression. Do you get what I mean? So he gives her Leia's lightsaber. Yeah, and then he pulls his X-wing out of the water, and his X-wing still works. So she goes to Exegol in Luke's fire, using that Wayfinder, and then that's how she gets to Exegol. And then basically, you know, that's when Palpatine gets kind of mad. He's like, "Look, set up one of my super lasers, Star Destroyers, and you know, go to Kijimi and blow up." You know, you get what I'm trying to say. So they go to Kijimi, and then so there's two things going on. Like there's some weird stuff going on. Like they're gonna go to Kijimi to blow it up. Rey tells R2 where she is. The Resistance they go to Exegol to try and help her. So then she goes down there and she meets Palpatine and confronts him. And then he's like, "Oh, you gotta kill me so that my spirit can go into you."
This is the stupidest bit. It's just like, you know, when they said, "Oh, sod the books and all the graphic novels and any of that material as non-canonical." And now we're going to do our own bullshit with the sequel trilogy. Look at what they've gone and done. They've just gone and done, like, taken the worst ideas from all that material and squished it into this movie, which is borderlining on, like, 3 hours almost. It's horrible. Like, he blatantly says, like, "Oh, like, you know, hit me with your rhythm stick and fucking I'll pass my soul into you, and I'll be all powerful."
You have to beat me at a game of Beat Saber, and then I'm basically gonna be inside you or something.
So strange.
That bit where she has that force vision against that other bendable lightsaber. That's another toy gimmick, right? That he did, right?
I remember that bit as well. Yeah,
that bit is kind of interesting. That would have been her fully powered.
It's too kind of like throwback to Empire, isn't it?
Yeah, that was supposed to be the cave scene, where she was
Yeah, the
supposed
kind
to
of like
fight.
rite of passage for Rey.
Yeah, so that's like the bit where he goes into the cave and then he kills Vader, but then Vader is him, like what he could be.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he
Yeah,
could become Vader.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was sort of like a double message, like Vader's your dad, you could
But
be
that
Vader.
that message is so much more poignant than the Rey sequence, because all she does is she shows up in a hood, a black hood, and then swings her dazzling looking toy, which is a double-edged lightsaber that breaks in the middle.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it. Does she actually fight herself or nothing like that?
She does kind of like basically her lightsaber can grab another lightsaber and pull it away. It's kind of like designed to catch a lightsaber or something. You know,
Yeah.
something weird like that, so she can overpower someone. Because, like, technically, if someone came at you, you could grab it, then untwist the other bit, then come over yourself, and then cut that person's forearm off. That's how I would use it. You know, so if someone came at me, I'd scissor it. I call it like the scissor saber. So basically, they would come at me, and I'd scissor their blade in between, and while that blade's locked, I would open it back up, but then I would twist and kind of arch myself. Then I'd be cutting off that person's forearm before they have a chance to retaliate because they have one weapon.
That's right.
I've got two
Yeah.
blades. So, you know.
Plus, also in conjunction, that sequence is happening with all the ships turning up, isn't it, behind the Falcon?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So that
there's a lot of messy stuff happening at the same time. There's supposed to be that kind of A and B story. So you've got the battle on Exegol against Palpatine and Rey, and then you've got the battle up in the sky in space with.
Visually, that looks really impressive because you get to see like Wedge and people return. I like Wedge's cameo. He's that man in the turret.
Was nice. Yeah, I admired that. At least they brought some older actors in from the previous original trilogy to pay homage and so on and so forth.
But the other thing also about that though is that there's not enough going on there. Like where are they going? What are they attacking? You know, the ships are scattered. They had to go back into the second Death Star. They had to go into it. So Lando had an arc or something that he needed to do. Now again, they've tried to set up Lando as this guy that everyone's gonna rally behind. So why didn't they rally behind Han? Why didn't they rally behind someone else before? You get what I mean?
You missed a massive opportunity, in my opinion, to get Han and Lando to team up in the Last Jedi. Like you could have had
that would have been wicked
on that camper bike planet instead.
You see, you could have set it up in such a way,
film, and if Han was still alive, they could have worked together again to rally troops against the First Order.
Yeah, what I would have done is that basically, you know, like Han told them that he didn't want to do anything. He's looking after this town, right, of bounty hunters. Well, basically, him and Chewie return with these guys. So they've got all these wicked bounty hunters, and they all have kind of like Corellian-looking kind of ships and stuff. So there's the Falcon, and there's the Outrider. So you have Dash Rendar in a cameo. You have all these other people in cameos, and they're coming to whoop the First Order, right?
Any random obscure Star Wars
and even like the Ghost is in it, and you know everyone from like Star Wars, not Star Wars Rebels, but you know like people are there, like you know the people from Star Wars Rebels, whoever survived basically, and then basically from Lando's side, Lando's got like this wicked militia that he's made. So basically, he's like rich in it because he's got his kind of like casino ships. So basically, he's got like this fleet that looks like he's been living on Naboo or something. So he brings his Naboo ships with him because he's been like living it up. Oh, something. So that
bring the bloody solar sailor.
he had some kind of badass looking kind of Queen Amidala style ship, you know. So that would have been a nice homage to kind of the Naboo and the kind of technology before, and then Leia could have come with basically her first order, not first order, resistance fleet, you know, and then that becomes the New Republic. You know, so all that kind of stuff could have come together really nicely. I like the bit where Ben is nice for a little while. He's a Jedi again. So we got to see Ben Solo fighting for a while.
Let's just go back to the goofy MacGuffin of the dagger, bro. We forgot to mention that because we.
Yeah, what happens to the dagger after?
The bit where she goes to the second Death Star.
Yeah, so what does she use the dagger for? To open the door?
The dagger is so bloody stupid. Yeah, there's like a hidden pulley metal bit.
Yeah.
And she pulled it out, and all she does is line it up with the damaged part of the Death Star, which makes no bloody sense. It's a really bad what's that JJ thing called where he keeps the mystery box thing?
Oh, that mystery box thing he does, like the MacGuffin, I call it. It's like his MacGuffin.
The MacGuffin. Let's just say it's the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
You got Ray, Poe, and Finn, and Chewie, and someone else is there. Probably C-3PO or someone. Then they're looking at the destruction of the Death Star, and obviously the Death Star's in that CGI foreground shot, all rock up, which A doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because it was destroyed, like completely fucking obliterated in Return of the Jedi. There was no trace of.
Yeah, I mean,
when you're looking at the shot from Endor in Return of the Jedi, you can see it's blown to smithereens.
That's what I don't get. There's no chunks that get kind of blown up. I thought it got completely eviscerated.
Exactly. So it makes no sense as to why on this planet there's remnants of the second Death Star.
Strange, man.
You know, I get it if it was from A New Hope, because that's how they made the second Death Star.
Yeah.
You know, they had half a Death Star or some shit. It didn't totally get obliterated.
No. They have you always thought that? Because that's not what it is. It's a second Death Star that they were already building that was incomplete.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. You thought it was you thought it was the pieces. They jigsawed it back together. You joker.
All the way. Let's do it, guys. We can build this together.
Yeah.
And they got like.
What about all the contractors who died, man?
And all the workers like, we can do this.
Those poor workers who just got killed by the terrorist organization, the Rebel Alliance. It's horrible, man. Empire did nothing wrong. They always say it's so funny that.
If you look at that stupid fucking dagger, it makes no fucking sense why this is the central plot point of her finding out the secret of where is it where Palpatine is hiding? Is that what it's for?
Yeah, it basically tells you what Exegol is because there's two wayfinders, which is strange when she could have. Oh no, because Thingy broke the other one. He ends up breaking it somehow.
There's also that weird sequence on. I can't remember if it's on the ship. You know, where they break the Vader tribute doll.
Yeah, the statue, because that's their Force dyad fight that they can have.
Yeah, so did they have a physical fight, or is it just in their minds?
First they have a kind of like a memory fight. So that lightsaber battle, that shit one that they have through their memory, that's a memory fight that they have, like a Force Void fight. I call it Force Void fight. And then they have a real fight on the moon of Endor. That moon that they're on.
Yeah. The moon. See, now,
so he actually breaks that wayfinder that she finds.
Stupid.
Yeah, do you remember? He cracks it. He actually cracks that wayfinder that she finds, and then that's why she gets angry at him and fights him and then stabs him. So that's the bit that's so stupid. So she had the dagger to go get it, only for it to get destroyed. Then when she stabs Ben, she steals the ship, and the wayfinder's in there. So she uses that wayfinder that he originally got from that tomb. In Vader's castle.
That's kind of stupid. What was the point in the dagger in the fucking first place?
And again, it's like, going all over the place. It's like a spaghetti. We go left, right, up and down, it's just really strange.
So let's go on to the hilarious finale, because there's so many bits in this sequence that crack me up. I could not take it seriously when we saw it in the cinema.
So first he comes back, Ben, and then he whoops the Knights of Ren. So the Knights of Ren are just a bunch of pansies against him, which is a bit strange.
Totally wasted.
He whoops them quick. I mean, that bit was kind of cool. I kind of liked Ben killing them. He looked like a badass with his blue lightsaber. But again, it was, it's thing we're talking about, and he's just such a wooden doof.
Wooden clumsy fire.
Yeah, like Adam Driver just can't fight. He can't do shit. I don't even know why the hell they cast him. He's just like a goof. And then the bit where Palpatine drains her power to rejuvenate himself is weird as well, because he doesn't even kind of become young and fight her.
He does that kind of like what I call the Skeletor moment or some shit.
Yeah.
Where he starts summoning all this power through his decrepit body. I'm like, how the hell are you commanding all this power when you're on a shit body? Even in your prime, Palpatine, where are you getting all this lightning from?
He was able to basically get it from her because she's descended from his line. So some kind of weird Sith alchemy. This is that thing that he learned from his guy, Darth Pelagius. He learned to basically drain life energy from other beings or beings connected to
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure that he just like iced his own dad so that he could, and other people so he could live such a, like, because he looked really old looking and messed up in Attack of the Clones, like he
But
was getting dark.
doesn't he drain both of their powers to get more
He
younger or
he he
something?
drains Ray and then he kind of throws thing into like a gorge or something and then he disappears.
That is the stupidest sequence, that bit where he force pushes.
Yeah.
He either force pushes Ben or he throws Ben over that cliff and there's like a ledge
Yeah.
on the cliff and he
Yeah.
falls down the cliff and it looks like he's gone into a massive deep hole
Yeah, he fell into
that he
the
can't
he fell
climb
into a
out of.
sarlacc. Like
And then afterwards, like after the finale and the showdown between the two,
yeah.
he manages to creep up after just like a freaking like a cheesy film where no, it's okay, he's still alive. Hey, he
the
didn't
stu-
fall down
the
that far.
the stupidest bit is that he got thrown off the mountain. That he takes all
Exactly.
that time to climb back up, which probably took him like a good 30 minutes or something, right?
Exactly. In
And then
all that
he
instance, we could have had a couple of like old school Jedi's making an appearance while he was fucking climbing
it
that
would have
cliff.
it would have been so wicked, yeah, as if he was all busted up. Like when Guile falls down the mountain and he's messed up, the Bison leaves
Yeah,
him alone. I would have had him all bloodied on the floor, and then you know who picks him up? Anakin, like Anakin's
yeah,
ghost.
exactly.
Like Anakin and his dad, yeah, his uncle, sorry, could have picked him up, and then he starts climbing, and each Jedi is kind of helping him up the climb. So he keeps grabbing each Jedi's hand as he's climbing up, and he's like busted up. Then when he gets
Yeah.
up there, yeah,
Or
yeah,
they're like pointing, they're like making marks
yeah, they're like,
on
come.
the
They're
on
on
the
each
rock of
level.
where to grab,
Yeah, like
helping him.
yeah, and then basically when he gets up to the top, Ray's suffering, and then he deflects Palpatine's lightning with his power, and then he gets Ray up, and then both of them, because they're the Force Dyad, they have all the Jedi behind them. So you got
What
Mace,
would
you
have
got
been good is if Ben used that power where he can stop the
yeah, he stops the Force lightning and
the
deflects it in a
photon
bubble
blast
inside.
power of
Yeah,
stopping it,
yeah.
and then kind of redirecting it somewhere else into like a ceiling or something, and some
Yeah.
rocks fall down or
He just
some
kill he
shit.
kills the Sith cultists with it, the guys who were chanting, they're like, oh shit!
All the rocks fall on the choir.
Yeah, the choir while they were chanting the whole time.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I wanted to shut them up. So,
Yeah.
you know what
He
I
didn't
mean?
like that sound anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So, there's this wicked short story idea I had where there was a Ben from another reality who fights
Yeah.
the First Order. Not the First Order, he fights the Remnant Empire. And when he goes through hyperspace, yeah, he has to dump something, but it sends him to this reality. So it's the first time we ever it's kind of like a sort of like a fictional story I thought of, like a one-off, like a Star Wars Tales, where Ben's not Kylo. He's a good guy. He inherited the Falcon from his dad. And he's like his dad. So he wears stuff and he's like a Jedi, trained by Luke, fighting the Remnant Empire. So when he comes to our reality, first he's attacked by Rey, and everyone thinks that he's Kylo. And then he says, "I'm not Kylo," and he's got another Chewie. And that Chewie's got like some kind of pirate eye, like bionic
Yeah.
arm or something that he lost in his battles against
Oh yeah.
the things, right? So that Chewie's older looking, and him and the other Chewie they hang out, right? And then basically he fights Kylo Ren on Yavin, and Rey and him have a fight. But then he's able to whoop Kylo because he's angry that Kylo killed his dad, innit? You get what I mean? In this
Yeah.
reality, so it would have been wicked if Ben Solo fought Kylo Ren and whooped Kylo Ren with Rey. That would have been wicked. So there was this bit basically where he gets electrocuted by Kylo Ren. Like Kylo Ren knows Sith
Yeah.
lightning, and then he uses that technique which is known as like a force bubble. So basically he learns this new thing called force bubble where he pushes Kylo Ren into a force bubble and all the lightning comes back on him, and then that damages his armor, and then he has this brutal fight that I was gonna choreograph so well. I'm probably gonna do it as a Tales episode, like for the future shows that I'm gonna do. So we're probably gonna see a version of this in some kind of cartoon form, or something.
Yeah.
If I can get away with it, I can do it as like a kind of fan film. I will. And I'll just do it as this cartoon where Ben basically fights Kylo Ren and whoops him. Because some people have made some
Absolutely.
wicked
Yeah.
films, like they've made this Kylo Ren versus Vader thing, and this other stuff. So it's cool. It's like a little short film in between the films. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Totally.
it's nice, man.
I
It's
mean,
nice.
I mean, what I don't like about the end sequence is that he's doing his lightning and he's doing the Uber lightning,
Yeah.
and then she has to like resist by using both lightsabers, right?
That bit's kind of cool. She creates like a kind of X-Men logo. So she
Yeah, but
basically
you
like,
know the X-Men thing like Mace Windu did.
yeah,
How come his face doesn't burn like a brisket this time round?
she does though. She does basically what Mace did. Mace was doing to thing because he's so good. Like Mace is very well trained in deflecting force lightning and other things. I thought it was a bit shit though because this guy practices Vapad or whatever the style is, but
Yeah.
he's like so good that he didn't see Anakin slice his hand off. Didn't expect him to come. I would have gone, don't
Yeah.
try, kid.
Where's your
Stay there.
forces?
You know? Stay down, motherfucker. You get what I mean? And then it would have been done. It would have been sorted out. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a bit goof. There's like a lot of goofy power level problems in Star Wars. Like, you
I know,
big
but
up Mace
also
and
what I
then.
don't like is that you don't make Palpatine. Palpatine feels like a weaker villain compared to someone like in the Marvel universe,
Like Thanos.
where it's like a built-up arc. There's no arc with Palpatine. He's just been put in to
Palpatine's
save
problem is
ourselves
that he's like a
from what
slithery
no
kind
could
of
have been.
snake. He's kind of like a slithery guy. You get what I mean? So he just slithers around and does things behind the scenes, but then when he needs to fight, he's got a bit of power. I would have liked it that so when Palpatine came back, he's like, the guy's been benching, he's been putting time in the gym.
Yeah,
He could.
he needs to be like a freaking Fist of the North Star villain who's like
Yeah.
uber buff,
Yeah.
uber strong, and uber badass
Isn't
at
it?
lightsaber battles, not
That's
some
what
tweedy old creepy
that's the
dude.
storyline. That's the storyline that I came up with these guys. Basically, there was this race, yeah, that even the Sith were afraid of. They tried to basically subjugate them, but they were lightsaber resistant and force resistant. So they can sort of be semi force resistant to a couple of force pushes and stuff. It takes about 4 Jedi and like 4 Sith to kind of take out one of these dudes. And they used
Oh
to,
yeah,
and they were at one point they were crushing the Empire, and basically they had an alliance with the Mandalorians and the Jedi, the Sith, and a group of Mandalorians had to take them out. And then this guy was buried in Cortosis, and these guys were digging
yeah,
Cortosis up to try and take out Luke and build armor. And they find him, and then he whoops them and takes control of everything. So he's the main villain in my film franchise. He's kind of like a Thanos type guy. He's like this huge dude. He looks a little bit like design wise. I would say he looks kind of like the Axe dude in Justice League. What's Darkseid's Steppenwolf? So he was more like Steppenwolf,
Steppenwolf,
this dude.
yeah, like Steppenwolf,
Yeah,
yeah.
he had like a massive axe, like Astaroth, that he would use.
Mm.
So because Luke runs on top of the axe up the thing to kind of cut him in the neck. You get what I mean in
Sure,
my version.
sure,
So there was
sure.
some wicked bits there. The action
Yeah,
would have been incredible, but he's like twice the size of a normal human. He's about six,
yeah.
7 foot. This dude. I've forgotten his name, but he kind of looked like Darth Krayt a bit. Like Darth Krayt's armor would have been made out of the bones of this dude.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
So let's just wrap out the last bit, which is really bad as
yeah,
well.
absolutely. So, he climbs out of the gorge, right? And
Yeah, he
then,
climbs
but
out.
before that, yeah, Ray's hearing all the voices of past Jedis, so they just have everyone phone it in, right? So,
True, yeah.
so
Like,
I
Ray,
thought
get up, Ray, get up, Ray, get up.
that was seriously disappointing because this is a 275 million dollar film, right? And
Yeah.
you're telling me you can't hire these guys for a little
It's like
cameo or something.
horrible, horrible.
So that's the problem. And then she kills him, right? So she kills Palpatine, but then she dies, killing him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then Ben comes and basically like goes, "Oh no, she's dead," and then he smooches her, and then somehow he transfers his life to her, and then he dies. So you spent all that time climbing up the mountain only to die. It was so
I thought
stupid.
that was total bullshit. So yeah, absolutely. She dies. Okay, so she dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a bit OTT for even a Star Wars film because I thought she was the hero,
Yeah.
and there's no real reason why she would die in a kind of handsy fight like this against Palpatine.
Yeah.
She didn't really work that hard to die that way.
Yeah.
And then Ben comes out, gives her a little smoochie in this weird kind of like on or off relationship that they had with their minds. And he ends up freaking biting the dust, and then she lives on. And then yeah, it's just weird.
Then everyone
And
basically
then
has a
the
party,
resistance
right?
just beat up his forces somehow.
Yeah, so Palpatine's
They,
Armada just suddenly
they
powers
gained the
down,
upper
right?
hand.
Yeah. And then that's it, innit? Like,
That's it, yeah. And then she just goes back to Tatooine.
And they're saying that everyone basically whooped the First Order. The Sith Order died. You know, the Sith Final Order that died. So the Final Order died. The First Order died out. The Resistance then returns to their base to celebrate. Then after everyone's chilling and celebrating, she goes to Luke's home on Tatooine, and then she buries the lightsabers. Then she builds her own yellow one. And I'm like, where did this yellow one come from? I thought yellow kyber crystals weren't canon, so suddenly they're canon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And then basically, you've got her saying that she's going to be Rey Skywalker. So I thought that was really interesting. So she just inherited the name. So that was really strange. I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't see. Again, it's just another shoehorn, poorly written sequel.
I mean, are you okay with that? Her taking the Skywalker name?
Yeah, I'm alright, but I don't see. I think it's still stupid that she's a Palpatine. I think that's poorly written.
So she was born a Palpatine, but then she adopted herself into the Skywalker line, and then in that way she broke the curse as well.
It could have been written much more better in a better way. I mean, you could have set the tone in Last Jedi better.
I think Last Jedi created a very bad, basically the House of Cards just fell apart. And then he's trying to rebuild something. I mean, props to him for doing what he did, but also at the same time, I mean, the whole thing is messed up. Now, they might as well just hire me and I'll fix everything. Like, make them go back in time or something, And like, this is the first time you ever see time travel in Star Wars, and they go back, and then you meet Luke when they're young and shit, and like, you recast Han and Carrie Fisher, and the reality changes. Vaden.
You gotta come back with me. Where?
Yeah. I'm going back to the future. Back to the future. So that would have been wicked. Anyway, yeah. So it's been really fun to talk about it. Come on, give me your shields. You go first.
I will give it 2.
2. Yeah, I'll give it.
5.
I guess I would give it a 1.5. So then if you did it 2, then it gets kind of 3. You get what I mean? Aggregated, so it gets 3 shields. Yeah.
Okay,
it's alright,
no,
man.
Less than that.
2 shields.
Yeah, it doesn't deserve
and
a 3.
I'm being generous. Is it the worst film in the Star Wars franchise?
No, that's The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi is the worst one for you.
Yeah.
Then what's the second worst? This one.
This one.
Do you like it more than Attack of the Clones?
No, I mean, let's just, if we're talking about a sequel trilogy, it's like 8, 9, and then 7. So it's like,
okay. So you
so
like Force Awakens, you don't like Last Jedi a lot, and you don't like Rise of Skywalker, but you like Last Jedi the least. I would agree with you. I think Last Jedi is the lamest one. Yeah.
I agree.
And then and then if I were to grade all the originals, I always loved Empire and Return the most. But I like Star Wars too. They're hard. They're all wicked in their own way. Because Star Wars has the wicked trench run and all that kind of snub fighter stuff. And then
great sequences that will never get old for us.
And then Empire has the wicked kind of Hoth battle, and then the lightsaber fight on Bespin. So that's really cool too. Then Return has the wicked swoop bike bit. Sorry, the speeder bike bit. There was this wicked bit that I thought of this swoop bike chase where Rey chases down some guys, on swoop bikes on Tatooine. And it would have been wicked. I thought that was a wasted idea. When she's trying to find a Wayfinder, she's trying to find a Jedi killer. She chases him down. He's got this swoop bike gang. That would have been wicked, man.
Yeah, totally.
But it's so cool. Yeah. Anyway, so that kind of wraps up this podcast, man. I want to thank everyone for listening. It's a good one. It's fun to talk about this stuff, like Star Wars. But that being said, I know I could do better. So if they want some fresh blood on this, one day if I ever get Star Wars with you guys, I'm really gonna make this stuff shine. It's gonna feel like the old stuff. It's gonna be a balance of all the old nostalgia that everyone loves, but new exciting stuff, new force powers, new kind of like enemies and a new adventure. like expanding the lore. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. This has been episode 22 of Thor. And Z, thanks so much for coming onto this podcast, and
Alright, Bob, it was good.
it's
It's good to
always
talk
great
about
to
it.
talk to you about this stuff. And I've been your host, Ray Janjua, and thanks again for listening to another great episode of the House of Rep. We'll see you around.